Hello and welcome to a fresh installment of Open Soon. And today we have the Mako 427, a really tidy little padlock. The Mako 427 here is in the same category of security as the American 1100 and also in the same category as the Lockwood 334B45, although I would say that the Lockwood here, to me anyway, is a bit harder to pick. I'd say it's a bit higher security, and I'd also say that the Lockwood is considerably better made, a big chunk of solid brass, much higher tolerances, a generally nicer feel, whereas for instance the 1100, whilst it does come in this funky purple colour, is kind of a little bit wobbly and has all sorts of strange problems, like for instance no return on the key, and also I think with this one, if it's upside down, the key kind of gets stuck, which is a bit strange. The Mako on the other hand, a little bit better made and much more another solid piece of brass, better feel, and this one in particular though has a really stiff actuating spring, so that's quite a challenge turning that, but when it's turned it's got a nice solid click open. So yeah, it's a nice padlock indeed. And let's have a look at what it takes to open. I'm just going to use this wiper insert style bottom of the keyway tension tool and what is basically a standard hook from the Danyu high quality lockpick set that I got via banggood.com. So yeah, a bit of bottom of the keyway tension, and we're just going to run through. I'm expecting, like in the 1100 series, serrated pins. Maybe though in the Mako you might get the odd spool. Little click on one, another little click on two. Double click and a very slight movement on three. 3 clicks on 4, that's probably serrated. Little tiny click on 5. And we're down at 6 with nothing there. Little clicks down the bottom there. Come back up to 1. And we're open. So didn't stop me from getting in, but then again I have picked this before. So let's have a look at what it takes, what's in the inside. Let's pull this one apart, put those locks to one side and grab the pinning tray. This one's got a core in the middle. Just undo the screw at the bottom there, and everything should just slide out. Couldn't be easier. And at the bottom there we have that little plate, which is designed to stop bypass tools, and it does quite a good job of that, although it is a very thin little piece of aluminium, I think, and I think there have been bypass tools developed which pretty much just punch a hole through that and continue on. So not an entirely secure system. There should be a screw in here. There we go. Tiny little Bible in these locks. Tiny pins, tiny springs. One of the problems with the springs in this, and especially in this 1100, I've got another 1100 on the way and I'll be interested to see what happens, but the springs out of the factory are really weak, and as a result, essentially, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, which is I think why when you turn this one upside down it won't open, because what's happening is key pins are actually falling into the shear line, which is really not very well designed. Now I've got one of these annoying C-clips here that I never really like to deal with. I don't think anyone does. I've not met anyone who has a nice time with C-clips, circlips, E-clips. why can't they just use screw systems like on the Lockwood and a few other locks I've used? There we go. So that's off. Now we'll put the key back in. Turn it 90 degrees. In fact, we'll turn it the other way. These things, I've got one of these grooves, which means that if I had shims, I'd probably put a shim in. All I've got that way is a bit of film at the moment. I've got shims on the way. I think I've said that now in about 3 videos in a row. Promise you they're on the way. That's a little bit too big. Someone said that you can use a AAA battery as a follower for these. See how that would work. Also got this tiny rod from, again, another cheap set. Let's have a look at what we've got here. No doubt that things are likely to get caught up in that, but let's have it. Oh, and one thing about these cores, and I think it's the same from memory in the 1100, is there are holes at the bottom of the cylinder there, and they're presumably there because they use that to drill in to create the Bible chambers. But you have to be really careful because the key pins will just fall straight out of that when you turn, if you turn it all the way. To demonstrate that, what I can do is turn it that way, and you can actually see the key pins just through those gaps. Trap for young players. Very easy to lose all the key pins that way. Now if I do this upside down, we might avoid tragedy. There we go. And there goes the key pins there. It's alright, we'll be able to work that out. Number of times I've done that, it's embarrassing. Let's just quickly sort that out because I can see the bitting on the key, thankfully. And my long pin should be in number 3. It's a long pin there. And I can see serrations on the pin already. Tiny little pins in these locks. Really, I don't like these as much as the Lockwood, which uses the full size. Essentially the same system as Schlegg actually in the Lockwood, but built to higher tolerances. It's probably in 5, I'd say, that little tiny pin there. And then we've got one that needs to go into another tiny one, which looks like it should probably belong in 2. And a long one that's jumped over here, probably belong in 4. Yep, that's right. So, apologies for the little interlude there. I'm going to take that key out for now. And let's put these in here to have a look at them. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nothing else of note in these cores, just worth noting that there are serrations on those pins, so that makes it a little bit more challenging. Now let's have a look at what we have in the Bible. Again, almost 0 spring tension here, which means it's actually difficult to get these security pins out. That's from the one. We have a serrated pin and a tiny spring that's doing almost nothing at all. Now to get 2, and that's a spool, although the pin is so small that I don't think it's doing any work. 3, again, we've somehow fallen deep into the Bible. So again, we've got a blown spring, but it's a spool. 4, that's the spring out of 3. Now it springs everywhere. We've jumped everything out now. I'll be right. It's from the back, that's serrated spool. Oh, we've got jumped over by one. Spool, serrated, and finally appears to be a standard. I believe that Mako, in the factory, their system is to basically randomize security pins. So you never really know what you're going to get, whereas within the American 1100, the standard is serrated. So you always find serrated pins in the 1100. So that means that it's a bit more of a lucky dip with Mako. So there's nothing to write home about in the chamber, no counter milling or anything like that. And so let's have a look at these pins. You've got key pins with serrations, so that makes life a little bit trickier, although there's no counter milling to catch it. And then you've got a combination of spools and serrations, which again makes life quite difficult because they have their different feedback profiles. And then you've got these tiny, practically useless springs, and that's becoming a bit of a problem in these locks. From what I'm gathering, maybe over here we're getting dodgy stock in Australia maybe. If anyone has different experiences with these locks that I believe are made in Mexico, then feel free to leave a comment. Anyway, that's all for today. Little video on the Mako 427 on the subreddit. That's a blue belt lock along with the 1100 and the 334 B45. So yeah, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.